Greetings and blessings to you all, and welcome back to my channel. I go by Lex Stays Liquid. Some call me Lex. That's no problem. This is a beautiful time to be alive, as you are all well aware. We are not just advocates for holistic health, not just physical health, not just mental health, not just spiritual health, the entire Trinity. Okay, and this is another beautiful case study we have via the Diary of a CEO podcast, and he has the one, the only Israel Adesanya, who is the current UFC middleweight champion. And in this episode, he speaks about overcoming his own self-doubt. And once again, we've gone into the Tyson Fury. We've gone into a few other prominent sports people, people out there in the mainstream. You can just check the channel and see that no one is immune from holistically healing themselves. Okay, it's one thing to be physically fit, it's one thing to be mentally fit, but it's another thing to be holistically fit and healthy. Okay, so what it is inside here, this episode here is Izzy talks about overcoming his self-doubt. I'm going to give a bit of an excerpt, but otherwise, if you want to go ahead and watch the full podcast on YouTube, I'll leave the links in the description. You can go ahead and also subscribe to the Diary of a CEO. Once again, thank you so much for this case study. This is for study and case study purposes only. Okay. Basically, what the UFC middleweight champ Israel Adesanya, Nigerian-born New Zealander, speaks about is imposter syndrome. Speaks about counseling, speaks about therapy. He speaks about his own self-talk and how that impacted him on a first point basis in order to recreate or reconstruct his mind. He had to shift his self-talk. You know, even if it sounds crazy to some of you, going in the mirror and giving mantras, reciting affirmations, things like that. They're part of rituals of self-development, right? But without further ado, I definitely want to get into this excerpt. Once again, it's not going to be too long. We might stop periodically just to, reiterate and touch on these points which he's touching on, which are very, very important for all of us as men, as boys, as gentlemen who are looking to self-develop, self-improve, and also the women, the females out there, once again, not limited to. You're also more than welcome. And especially if you have men in your life, boys in your life who require the assistance that we are giving in terms of holistic health here at Lex Stays Liquid, we would be more than happy to do a free consultation, and then we take it further. Otherwise, without further ado, let's get into it. Run that.
There's something really remarkably sort of liberating and amazing to hear a UFC champion talking about imposter syndrome, because it really does feel like, it feels like there's, and I know this is an obvious misconception, it really doesn't feel like someone with your swag and confidence could feel those things. You talked there about therapy as well, and when you spoke to Joe Rogan about therapy and about after your UFC debut, that swirl you went through, I wrote about this in my book because I got really compelled by this really bizarre thing that happened in my life when my company joined the stock market, and I'm sat in my room in Manchester and it's worth 300 million, and I'm figuring out how much money that means I've got, and it feeling like the worst day of my life. And then when I heard you talking a little bit about how you felt after your UFC fight, hiding in the toilet when people are pestering you to ask you questions, and that annoying dude sitting down next to you when you tried to hide.
After my UFC debut, the after party, it was after the fight, it's always, like I said, I get pulled in so many different directions, and it's just like, it was my first time in the UFC, so I was my first time experiencing all that, and it's like coffee. It's a stimulant. Coffee's a stimulant. So after your UFC debut and you show out like the way I did, I stole the show. I came in there and I stole the show, and it was just like, cameras, this, we need you to interview this, come talk to this person, da, 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 da. And then I didn't get time to myself till I got back home. And when I was back home and I was in my own house and finally away from all the noise, and it's just like, whew. And then I remember, it's like coffee. You drink coffee, you got the coffee high, and then you crash. So it's literally that, like just lack of the stimulant, and I just crashed, and I was like, why am I sad? I just found myself being really sad. And I remember, it's probably on my old phone, me documenting my recovery. Because I was just like video diaries, that is. I was like, why am I sad? Like, I made 6 figures in my UFC debut. That's including the bonus as well. Yeah. And I'm just like, there's no need to be sad. I fucking killed that shit. And that's when I started to kind of like take therapy seriously. Because okay, I'm not going to be one of these bad statistics, you know, that you hear about in entertainment. So yeah, I had to, I guess, take a hard look at myself. But then therapy helped with that, because then you find.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. First and foremost, self-awareness is what separates the human, or us, beings, from animals, or our animalistic side. The ability to literally step outside of yourself and witness yourself and ask yourself, is that really conducive, or is that really part of, or is that really me? Okay, which is super powerful. And what he was experiencing was depression. Depression is very sneaky. It's a mental dis-ease. It's an imbalance, a chemical imbalance. He touches on stimulants, you know, even just something as harmless, apparently, as coffee, right? But once again, anything in excess becomes detrimental to your health. Run it.
The right person who can kind of help you, I guess, figure you out. And all they do is just ask you the right questions and then show you, guess, yourself. Yeah.
Can you, because I heard you say that you picked up tools from therapy that helped you sort of navigate all of that attention in this new position you're in. What were the tools?
Also, it wasn't until I fought Brunson that I was able to go back home and just kind of like, I keep saying it's like I came back from prison. What do you call it? Like, weave back into society, regular life normally. You know, it was until that was my 4th UFC fight. But then each fight after that, same thing. I go back home and I just like have this crash, and I had to realize, okay, this is something that I can't have happen constantly, because it's not healthy. A tool that I can say that helped me, one of the ones that helped was Charlemagne's book at the time, Shook Ones, Anxiety Playing Tricks on Me. I read that I finished reading that actually during the Brunson fight. That fight week, I finished reading that, and I got a lot of gems from that book. But from therapy, from my own experiences, talking to myself, the self-talk, because we all have negative self-talk, but looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, you know, speaking to yourself like you would to someone you're giving advice to, because when you look in the mirror, you humanize yourself. And I'll start to, like, you know, just have a conversation with myself, even like G myself up if I want to big myself up, things like that. So that's a tool that I feel like is really underrated. And it looks crazy, you know, standing in front of the mirror and talking to yourself, but it's a really powerful tool if you know how to use it right.
Fighters don't talk much about their mental health. I think Whittaker did the other day, and you kind of thanked him and applauded him for doing that, for being vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, I put him in a dark place after that first fight, and I understand, because guess what? He was trying to do the same thing to me. A guy I respect is Tyson Fury, because he spoke about that, you know, to ends, like, and how dark he went. He went to like the depths of hell in his own head, and then he's risen above it. And he says like he battles with it every day. I feel like, look, there's your spectrum of physical health. It's just super healthy, super ill. If you do not look after yourself and your physical health, you're going to get physically ill. Same way, if you don't look after your mental health, you're going to get mentally ill. So I feel like if you're,
absolutely,
it's like someone saying like, you know, oh, I don't go to therapy, fuck all that shit. It's like, well, do you take vitamins? Do you go to the hospital? It's not something to be, you know, whatever from. I feel like you should look after your mental health the same way you look after your physical health. So once I learned how powerful that was, I'm always on top of it. I slip up, obviously, because I'm human, and I get ill. But yeah, I always make sure I'm on point, though.
Was that your...
Wow, just a quick stop there. That is absolutely powerful. Break the stigma, guys. This is what we're doing, okay? If someone is a champion like Israel Adesanya, Tyson Fury, all of these people in sports, not all of them, but the ones who have awakened to the truth that mental health is just as important as your physical health, is just as important as your spiritual health. Wow. You know, do you not feel that deep down? And when you feel like there's something missing, most likely there is. And that is you picking up on your mental body. All right. It's super, super powerful gems which he's dropping right here. Otherwise, let's finish off. Make it run.
Hardest moment with your mental health after that UFC Depression?
Not my hardest. I think 2013 was my Great Depression. There was a time in 2013 that life was just like spiraling bad. It's early 2013. I remember at the time, my girl left me. The business I was working with was failing. Work was shit. I had my jaw broken in 2012, and I wasn't able to fight. So I really had no not purpose, but like something that I was looking forward to. You know, there was a time during that 2013. There was a time where I was walking Millie home one time, and I remember this is when I was really broke. And I remember just looking in this dairy or like this corner store, and I was just like, I wish I could just go in there and be like, look, just give me the money you have. I don't want to hurt you, but just give me. And I remember just like, it was a fleeting thought, and I was like, man, and that made me empathize with people. I was like, this is why some of them do it. They just have no other choice.
Wow.
Obviously, I'm not going to do it because I'm not an idiot. But I realized, like, this is why some people do what they do, because they have no choice. They just want to eat. I was lucky enough that no matter how bad it got, I always had my parents supporting me. If I hit my dad, can you please just loan me $100? Can you just give me $200? They would always support me. And I never went to them often, but whenever I needed to, they were always there for me. So I never had to go to that point where I was, and I would have never anyway, because I'm not stupid.
You refer to that moment as your Great Depression.
Yeah, 2013.
What got you out of that Great Depression?
To be honest, once I had my fight, so then I fought in June, I believe, that year. Finally, after 6 or 7 months, because I had to take time off after the surgery.
That's another important point, gents, if you're listening. Cultivating your passion, purpose, and how do you play every day. This is also what we do with our mentorships. We cultivate self-development, okay? We cultivate inner power. It starts from within. Everything that you see outside is a byproduct of internal alchemy, okay? Whether you believe that or not, it's going to become more apparent, and especially when you open these dimensions of yourself, of thyself, and you begin to know thyself, that's when this all starts to make a little bit more sense. Run that.
Fighting, and then I realized my purpose again, like, okay, I know what I want to do. So I didn't fight for a long time, because it was just really, it was dark times, not, something you're passionate about, what I moved to Auckland to do, and it got taken away from me. So then I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, and then once I got it back, it just kind of reinstated to myself, like, I know who I am, I know who the fuck I am, so, yeah.
There's something really sort of telling about that your lowest moment was when you'd lost so much, you'd lost connection in terms of your girlfriend, and you'd lost orientation and purpose and something to aim for in your life.
Yeah.
And you see that in young men. I mean, the single biggest killer of men in this country under 45 is themselves. Yeah. It's mad.
Wow. You see, gents, it's all over the world, okay? And you're not alone. Run that.
It's like, how do we get young men to have a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives in the modern world? How do we get that back into them? And funnily enough, I go to the gym around the corner. I could go to some posh gym. I go to the gym like down there. In the ends, it's like £15 a month, and it's all Black and Asian young men. And when I'm in the gym, I'm looking around and I'm sat there thinking, like, because now I'm on the Dragon's Den, they come up to me sometimes. But before that, I was thinking, like, probably the best thing I could do to help with suicide rates in this country, other than having these kind of conversations, is like put loads of fucking gyms in this country.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. I feel like we were talking about earlier about young men, kids, especially when they become adolescents and they don't know what to do with all this new hormones. They're just filling up their bodies and stuff like that. They need an outlet. Even for me, I've said after this game's done, after I'm done with this fighting shit, when I have a family, at least a couple of times a year, I need to do something that's gonna feel like I'm about to die. I feel like I just need to do something that's just gonna I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I need to do something that's gonna just like tame the beast. If not, I just feel like it's gonna seep in other ways I wouldn't want it to in my life, so I need to find a way to tame the beast, and I feel like this does. Martial arts, there's a quote, make savage of the body and civilize the mind, something like that. You know what I mean? Especially as young men, honestly, like, they want to, like, sometimes people want to kind of, like, discredit athleticism, or working out, or you're just a jock, or this and that. I hate jocks. I was never a jock in school, so I have a really, really special place in my heart for them. But yeah, for me, I just feel like just being able to own your masculinity in a way that's not toxic. I'm not talking toxic masculinity, but just being able to just like work out in a place where you can be a man and just like throw weights around, or I love rolling with my boys. Like I love lifting. Even during lockdown, I was lifting a lot. But there's something to be said when I have a guy like my teammate Brad Riddell or Carlos or Blood Diamond, on my back trying to choke me out. And then 3, 2, 1, go, and I have to fight the choke. There's something primal about that just activates this part of my brain that I'm just like, fuck. It's just it gets me going.
Quick one, as the seasons
Absolutely
have begun to
beautiful.
change.
Wonderful. Well, you heard it here, gents and ladies. If you are watching, I'm so, I'm in gratitude. I'm in gratitude for all of, the way we're growing organically. We are also heavily censored. We are heavily blocked on certain platforms. But you know how to get a hold of us. Also, we are doing our best to give our services more freely, more readily available, especially for the African men, the black men. Not to say that it's limited to, once again, it's where I'm from. I'm from Africa. I'm an African. And also, what we're doing here is we are trying to, not we trying, because we're getting it done. It's a slow process, steady, but once again, it's all about the 100th monkey effect. So if you see this and you enjoy it, if it has a great message, we're just asking you to share it. We're asking you to subscribe. We ask you to leave some comments. We're asking you to help us with algorithms. You'd be doing a lot more service to us than you'd even know. Otherwise, once again, if you want to see the full video, it's the Diary of a CEO. I want to say thank you. We appreciate you. And also to Israel Adesanya, all the way from New Zealand, by way of Nigeria, born in Nigeria. He's the UFC middleweight champion. And I'm so excited for the fact that more and more boys and more men are realizing that in order to become a leader, first you have to master self, and then the rest follows. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this quote. All the problems anyone has ever and will ever face over the course of their lifetime have already been made. There is nothing new under the sun. With that being said, please remain blessed.